दुख खुदाते हुए मैं आकर के वोट अपना कर्तव्य निभा रहा हूँ, वोट दे के जा रहा हूँ।
सवाल ही नहीं होता कि कोई कास्ट पे हम यंग जेनरेशन को वोट दें, कभी नहीं। हम सिर्फ डेवलपमेंट, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, इसी सब चीज पे वोट देने वाले हैं।
अपना वोट का जो अधिकार मिला है, सही मजबूत सरकार लाने के लिए ईमानदार और स्वच्छ व्यक्ति को वोट देना चाहिए।
आप एक एक वोट करके चीजें अपने आसपास की बदल सकते हैं। सो वी हैव सम राइट्स एंड वी शुड यूज इट।
All right. High voter turnout was seen in the 8th phase of the Lok Sabha polls as well for those 64 seats across 7 states. Fate of big guns like Rahul Gandhi, Varun Gandhi, Rabri, Devi, Vilas, Paswan were all sought yesterday. Rajdeep Sardesai, Editor-in-Chief, Senior IBN, is joining in with his take on the 8 phases of polls. Morning, Rajdeep. Thanks much for joining in this morning after a heavy day yesterday, especially after field trips to the place where the action was and will be. What is the sense you're getting now that you've really covered so much of ground and felt the pulse? Are you getting a sense that the election tracker results of April 3rd are kind of getting diluted in terms of support for BJP?
Look, I think certainly in the first phase of the elections, my sense is that the BJP has been well on track, particularly in the first 3 or 4 rounds. And wherever there was a direct contest between the BJP and Congress in those states, the Madhya Pradeshs, the Rajasthan, the Gujarats, to an extent Maharashtra, barring Karnataka to some extent, and Punjab, I would say in most of the states where there is a direct contest, the BJP has been the beneficiary because there has been this overwhelming mood for change that one senses. It is really in the Hindi heartland, in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, where there are a few question marks that have emerged. In Bihar, there seems to be some polarization that has taken place around Lalu. He's getting back his traditional Muslim Yadav vote. And in UP, particularly in eastern UP, caste is still an important factor. Now, these are the critical seats, the 32 seats of Uttar Pradesh, of eastern UP, and a large belt of Bihar, around 20 seats, total about 52 seats, where the BJP is finding it a little bit more difficult than they found it in other parts of the country. So yes, broadly I would say the trend of the tracker is right, but whether the BJP will cross 250 as we had predicted, or whether they will be more around 220, 225, I think that is now the real question. I do believe though that the NDA will be, in my view, certainly over 220 and possibly over 250. But I think that 220 versus 250 just depends on how well the BJP in particular performs in Uttar Pradesh in these last 2 phases. The one that went to polls yesterday and the one that goes to the polls on the 12th.
Wait, just a minute. Give me the range for NDA and BJP separately. Do you expect the BJP would even get a sub 200 number at all? Is that a worst case scenario? And what is the upper case?
That's the worst case scenario, is a sub 190 number, but I still think that the BJP is more likely to be above 200, and with the kind of allies, I'm including TDP now of course as part of the NDA, I sense that the BJP will be it's certainly over 220, or the NDA will certainly be over 220, and as I said, if they have got their calculations in UP and Bihar right, then they will be over 250. Okay. UP and Bihar remain the two imponderables just because of the competitive nature of the politics, particularly in this last phase in UP. And therefore, I'm a little hesitant to suggest that the BJP is definitely going to be over 230 on its own.
Okay. Rajdeep, hi, good morning. This is Sonia. First of all, congratulations on Ground Zero at Varanasi. It was a total pleasure to watch. And it was very interesting to see a couple of these smaller communities, the weavers, etc., that are now tilting a lot towards Kejriwal. Do you think Varanasi is still Modi's game, or could Kejriwal swing some votes in his favor as well?
Look, I think, Sonia, the fact is that Varanasi, urban Varanasi is likely to go with Modi. I think there is a strong urban support for Narendra Modi. It is the smaller, marginalized communities, poorer communities who are looking at Kejriwal. Rural Varanasi is certainly looking at Kejriwal with interest. Whether that now translates into enough votes for him to really take on Modi, I think there's a huge question mark on that. But I think that he has managed to create an impact without a doubt. And it does suggest, the very fact that he's created this impact, that there are people looking at options. That, wherever people are finding options, they're examining them. If complete wave election, as has been suggested by some, then Punjab, the reports that we've got from Punjab, and I was there, clearly suggest a very strong feeling against the ruling Akali BJP government there. So I think it varies from state to state, and in fact AAP is doing very well in Punjab by all indications. But Varanasi itself, I think Modi will win. But I think he may not win with the kind of margin that he's going to win in Vadodara. I think that there is a lot of anger against Murli Manohar Joshi, the sitting MP of the BJP, for being a non-performing MP. I think there are smaller, poorer groups in Varanasi who feel left out, who are gravitating towards Kejriwal. And Ajay Rai, the Congress candidate, is also a relatively strong candidate. So, I don't think Narendra Modi will win with the kind of margin in Varanasi that he's expected to win in Vadodara.
Is the RJD Congress combine really picking up in Bihar, you think, Rajdeep? Or is it just because of Lalu Prasad's confidence that people are assuming that combine is gaining ground?
No, my sense is that it is certainly picking up ground. That's what I've sensed when I was there for a day. There was every sense, particularly in what we call the Kosi belt, where the Muslim population is well above 25% in most constituencies. Lalu is doing well. I think what has happened in Bihar is that the Nitish vote has moved towards the anti-Modi Nitish vote. The vote that Nitish Kumar had of the extremely backward caste or even groups, in particularly the Muslims, has seen Lalu as someone who can take on Modi at the national level, and that alliance with the Congress and NCP on the ground seems to have worked in Bihar. What is happening in UP on the other hand, particularly in the first few rounds, is the anti-Modi vote that is there seems to have got more split, and that has worked to the advantage of the BJP. So I see the BJP really its game plan working, at least in the first few rounds that took place in western and central UP. But in Bihar, I think the calculations have gone slightly awry because of the Lalu factor. So I would say that the BJP will be still the single largest party in Bihar. But whether it will get the kind of majority of 25-30 seats out of the 40, there's a huge question mark over that. In UP, on the other hand, at one time we were predicting 50-55. There are... yes, they've done very well in the first few rounds, but as we've entered eastern UP, I think a bit of the momentum has been halted, and I think caste is playing an important role. But even if the BJP gets 40 in UP, that brings them within striking distance of their mission 272. So if they get 40 in UP, 20 in Bihar, then they are looking at 230, 240 for the NDA. And then if they can get extra seats, they believe in states like Odisha, possibly picking up some in the northeast, that will, and even in Tamil Nadu, and that gives them the advantage of possibly even moving over 250. So I think UP and Bihar remain the key to the final numbers of the NDA. But I still hold the view that the NDA is within striking distance of 272.
Oh, okay. That's important, especially for our audience. But your worst case for Bihar, UP is 40 and 20 for the BJP.
For Bihar, certainly, for Bihar, certainly 20. For UP, 40 could become 30, 35. It just depends on these last 32 seats. I think, that these seats are now critical because the level of competition here is very high. A couple of the comments that Modi has made, I think, have backfired. This whole attempt to play the caste card, it's galvanized Mayawati and her supporters. Some see it as a sign of desperation on the part of Mayawati. But look, in the heat of UP, her voters are coming out and voting. So I don't rule her out completely out of the contest. But I do believe it is still advantage BJP even in Uttar Pradesh. The question is, can they sustain the level of advantage in eastern UP that they've already had in western? In western UP, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a near sweep for the BJP. It's a question now of sustaining that in eastern UP. And if they sustain it, then they go above 50. In which case, they're, as I said, within inching ever closer to that magic 272 number as an NDA.
Yeah, your friend Bhupen was a little more cautious on performance. He seemed to be veering more towards 35.
Yeah, I think if you get more localized, I think if you look at local contests, then you go to 30, 35. I think if you look at it from on the big picture, which is that the anti-Modi vote is getting split in UP, then it is advantage BJP even with 30, 35% of the popular vote, which is the kind of vote share we saw in our election tracker. In Bihar, as I said, because it's becoming bipolar and Nitish is shrinking, the BJP is perhaps going to find it a little bit more difficult. But look, they will pick up seats possibly in other parts of the country. All indications are they're going to pick up seats in Odisha. The BJP, TDP combined will do well, possibly in urban Andhra. They're picking up, we believe, a few seats in Tamil Nadu. So if you look at the overall picture then, the BJP is picking up seats in areas where they traditionally would not. And in Maharashtra, all indications are that the BJP Shiv Sena combine has done very well. And that's, the second largest state, the second biggest prize after Uttar Pradesh. So I think that even if they go down in Uttar Pradesh, I don't think they will ever go down as much to suggest that they are still not in pole position to form the next government. I still think that come 16th of May, sometime around 12 noon, 1 p.m., Narendra Modi will be ever closer to his ambition of being the Prime Minister of India.
Okay, that's interesting. But I just wanted to ask you, do you think the EC can take action again, or will take action against Rahul Gandhi for visiting, some of the booths on polling day, which is essentially not allowed?
No, you see, it's clear that a candidate can go to polling booths. Okay. He can. So it's not, I think the story has been spun a bit, both by the Times of India and the Aam Aadmi Party a bit. I think the question mark is over the photograph, which shows him actually at an EVM center. And I think he must answer what he was exactly doing. And I think the Election Commission should ask some tough questions to Rahul Gandhi and his agents there as to what the candidate was doing specifically at an EVM over an EVM machine. I think unless we hear that side of the story, I would hesitate to call it a gross violation, as some are suggesting, because candidates do go to polling booths, and I think we need to recognize that. But I think the surcharge atmosphere, is creating this sort of sense that everything which is happening is a violation. And my one worry, the only reason that maybe people have been a bit worried in the last week is suddenly you're hearing more and more BJP leaders targeting the Election Commission. Now, if you're winning and if there's this tsunami and if there's a wave, then why are you worried about booth capturing, and why where is the evidence as yet that Mr. Jaitley has claimed of booth capturing out, in the country at the moment? Are we saying that there has been massive rigging, massive booth capturing? Where is the evidence? There are always stray incidents of violence. Bengal leads the way. But to suggest, as Mr. Jaitley did today in his blog, that there is, booth capturing has returned after 10 years, I think was a bit excessive. And that worries me a bit. Because, my gut is, as I said, that the BJP is doing well in this election. But if you are doing so well, then why are you worried about these booth capturing and voter intimidation? I think it betrays a sense of nervousness as we approach the 16th. And, I just hope that, the BJP respects the institution of the Election Commission, because all said and done, at the end of the day, the real bungling took place in Maharashtra with those missing voters.
Yes,
but
in Bombay.
The rest of the country, in Bombay, there have been, in Pune also there have been cases, and in Bengal there is this problem of voter intimidation. But to suggest that across the country there has been booth capturing, I think is a bit unfair. And I just hope that the BJP, what will they say when they win big? If they win big on the 16th, how are they going to respond? I remember a famous election in Madhepura where Sharad Yadav accused Lalu of rigging the election, and suddenly found when the results came out that he had won the election.
But public memory is short, right? I don't think too many people remember.
Final question.
Even 3 days back.
You're giving us a view that the chances of a Prime Minister, Modi as Prime Minister, is very, very, very likely. Just leave us with one last thought. Who's our Finance Minister?
I think the numbers will matter there. I think if the BJP is comfortably placed, then Modi will want someone of his own choice. I think he would like someone like Arun Shourie, that's my sense. But if the numbers are where he has to deal with coalition pressures, then Arun Jaitley is certainly someone who he would also look at. The two Aruns are the two names that are being mentioned most often. I presume that Arun Jaitley would have the advantage because he has contested the election, assuming that he wins, of course, from Amritsar. But even if he loses, you know, we've seen Shivraj Patil lose an election and also become the Home Minister of the country. So I do believe that Arun Jaitley is the front runner, if you ask me, for Finance Minister. But look, we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
I agree.
And you know, my biggest fear is that it all goes horribly wrong. But no, my gut. I'm going purely by gut. My gut is the BJP, the NDA will be within striking distance of 272 at the end of the day. After all the dust has settled, after all these allegations and accusations are done and dusted.
Surely, after Narendra Modi, you are becoming the darling of the markets. Rajdeep Sardesai, we appreciate you taking time out for us.
I just hope not.
I know you're telling us what you felt. I'm not saying you're trying to become the darling, but what you're saying is certainly, something that increases the confidence of the market. Thanks a lot for joining us.